The punch landed before the truth could catch up, a sharp crack of force in the cold night air that echoed louder than the sirens ever could. One moment, the street was just another dimly lit stretch of asphalt soaked in rain and tension, and the next, a black man lay stunned on the pavement while the officer who struck him felt his stomach drop with a fear he had never known. Because in that frozen second, as the man slowly lifted his head and the badge number was read aloud by another officer rushing in, a realization began to spread like ice through the veins. This was no ordinary civilian. This was the new police chief, sworn in quietly only days ago, standing face to face with the system he was meant to lead and reform. If you believe in kindness, accountability, and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with others, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be heard and remembered. The man on the ground had not come looking for trouble that night. He had walked alone, coat pulled tight against the wind, wanting to feel the city he had grown up in without the weight of ceremony or protection. Becoming police chief had been the proudest moment of his life, but also the heaviest. He knew what the uniform meant to people who looked like him, knew the history that clung to it like a shadow that never fully disappeared. He believed leadership required understanding, not distance, and understanding meant seeing reality as it was, not as reports described it. So he walked, quietly, anonymously, carrying decades of memories of being watched, followed, judged, and stopped for no reason beyond the color of his skin. The officer who punched him was young, restless, and exhausted in the way only long shifts and constant pressure could create. He had joined the force believing he was doing good, believing that rules and routines would guide him through the chaos. That night, he saw movement, felt adrenaline spike, and acted before thinking. Years of unchecked assumptions surged forward, faster than training, faster than reason. When his fist connected, it felt automatic, almost justified in his own mind for half a second. Then the world slowed. Then came the realization. Then came the panic. As other officers arrived and the truth became undeniable, the air shifted. Radios crackled with confusion. Faces drained of color. The man on the ground stood up slowly, brushing dirt from his coat, his dignity bruised but unbroken. He did not shout. He did not threaten. His eyes held something far heavier than anger. They held disappointment layered over years of experience, years of hoping things could be different. In that silence, everyone present understood that this moment would not disappear quietly. It would ripple outward, touching careers, families, and a city already stretched thin by mistrust. The new chief faced an impossible challenge in that instant. He could react with the fury the moment deserved, or he could respond with the responsibility his position demanded. His jaw tightened as he felt the familiar ache of humiliation, the same ache he had felt as a teenager stopped and searched on his way home from school, as a college student questioned in his own neighborhood, as a detective underestimated by colleagues who doubted his authority. This punch was not new pain, but it was a painful reminder that titles did not erase prejudice. Still, he steadied himself, knowing that whatever he did next would define his leadership more than any speech or policy ever could. News of the incident spread quickly, as these things always do. By morning, the city buzzed with anger, fear, and expectation. Some demanded immediate punishment, seeing the punch as proof that nothing had changed. Others waited, curious to see whether the new chief would protect one of his own or finally break the cycle. The officer who threw the punch barely slept, replaying the moment over and over, realizing that his actions had exposed not just himself, but the very culture he worked within. Shame settled in, heavy and suffocating, as he confronted a truth he had never wanted to face about his own biases. In the days that followed, the chief did not hide. He addressed the department and the city with a calm honesty that surprised even his harshest critics. He spoke of pain without bitterness, of accountability without cruelty, and of change without empty promises. He ordered a full investigation, stepping back from any influence, insisting that fairness mattered more than comfort. At the same time, he opened conversations long avoided, forcing the department to look inward at training, conduct, and the unspoken habits that shaped split-second decisions. It was not easy, and it was not popular with everyone, but it was real. The officer faced consequences, not as a scapegoat, but as a symbol of a larger problem. He was suspended, required to undergo intensive retraining, and placed under scrutiny that stripped away his defenses. For the first time, he listened, truly listened, to stories that mirrored the man he had struck. Stories of fear, of dignity denied, of lives altered by moments of unchecked power. It broke something open inside him, something he could not close again even if he wanted to. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the city felt a shift. Trust did not magically return, and wounds did not heal overnight, but a door had been opened. Community meetings grew crowded. Officers walked beats with renewed awareness. Policies changed, but more importantly, conversations changed. The chief continued to walk those same streets, sometimes recognized, sometimes not, carrying the weight of leadership with quiet resolve. He knew progress was fragile, but he also knew it was possible. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel anger, hope, or reflection all at once, please take a moment to engage with this video, because your support helps stories like this reach more people who need to hear them. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below with your thoughts, your emotions, or even a single word that captures how this moment made you feel. In the end, the punch that once seemed like a devastating failure became a turning point, not because it was forgiven easily, but because it was confronted honestly. A man who had endured a lifetime of injustice chose to lead with integrity, and an officer who acted on impulse was forced to grow beyond it. The street where it happened returned to silence, but the impact echoed far beyond it, reminding everyone that real change often begins in the most painful moments, when courage chooses understanding over revenge and responsibility over denial.